Hey there, it's Steve from Serious Keto, and over the course of the next 2 videos, I'm going to be doing the most comprehensive review I've ever done as I look at a dozen different low-carb and/or keto-friendly tortillas or wraps. It seems that not a week goes by that I don't get numerous requests to review various different tortillas, all of which are supposedly keto-friendly or low-carb. In this video, I will be reviewing 12 of them. Now, I will not be reviewing anything that can only be purchased on the internet, so all of these are store purchasable. I will be reviewing them for taste, texture, ingredients, total carbs, net carbs, glucose response, and inflammation response if applicable. For the glucose testing, I will be using an Abbott Freestyle Libre continuous glucose monitor and the Levels Health Analysis software. Now, a couple of points to make real quickly here. First off, I have found that about 1 out of every 4 Freestyle Libre sensors for me reads high. It's consistent, but it's high. And that was the case with the one that I used over the course of the 2 weeks that I recorded this video. So don't pay attention to the score that the Levels software assigns from 1 to 10. Instead, we want to pay attention just to the movement of the glucose. Also, this glucose testing is at best pseudoscience. I'm a sample size of 1. You'll notice I'm not wearing a white lab coat in this scene or in any of the scenes in this video. I'm wearing goofy t-shirts. But I did still try and put some controls around this. With one exception, and I'll mention it in part 2, each one of these tortillas was tested on its own separate day. All the tests were done in a fasted state when my blood glucose had been stable for at least an hour, so no dawn effect, no exercise, nothing like that that might confound the results. In each one of these tests, I eat only the tortilla. No toppings, no protein, no fat, nothing that might blunt the glucose response. Finally, I am not a type 1 or type 2 diabetic. So if I don't have a glucose response, that doesn't necessarily mean that you won't have a glucose response. However, if I do have a big glucose response, I think that should probably be a cause for concern. So with all that out of the way, let's start trying out some tortillas. I'm going to start with the 11 fresh keto-friendly tortillas from Aldi. And let's take a look at the nutrition facts and ingredients. Total fat, 3.5 grams. Total carbs, 9 grams. Dietary fiber, 6 grams for a net 3 grams of carbs, 3 grams of protein. In terms of ingredients, fairly clean. In fact, very clean. We have a keto flour mix, which is coconut and cauliflower, water, extra virgin olive oil, flaxseed, xanthan and cognac gum, salt, and calcium propionate to retain freshness. The tortillas themselves have a texture kind of similar to corn tortillas. Already they seem to be drying out a little bit. The taste, not super fantastic. I'm not sure what I would compare it to. It is kind of dry, kind of cardboardy almost in terms of the taste. I do taste the flaxseed. I'm going to microwave this in a tortilla warmer for probably 10-15 seconds and see what that does to it. So warmed up, it does seem maybe a little more pliable. I'm concerned though about how easily this tears. I don't know how well this is going to hold up to a taco or something like that. Again, the taste on this, not doing it for me. It is the perfect marriage or imperfect marriage of flaxseed and cardboard. Additionally, like I said, this tears way, way too easily. I am, though, going to finish eating this, and I'll be back in 2 hours with the blood glucose results. All right, we have our 2 hours worth of data now in the Levels software. Let's take a look. Not a surprise, a 10. very stable response. In fact, my glucose was lower. It kind of seemed to steadily go down for most of the 2 hours after I ate that tortilla. So, not a surprise given the ingredients. It's just unfortunate that it didn't taste very good. 1 tortilla down. I think I got 9 to go. Tortilla number 2 are the Nutri-ricas from Guerrero. Let's take a look at the nutritional information and ingredients. Okay, they stamped a date right on top of the total fat. It looks like 2.5 grams, maybe. Total carbs, 13 grams. Of that, 9 are dietary fiber for a net 4 grams of carbs, 4 grams of protein. The ingredients, they make almost impossible to read. They print it on not something white and very small, but we're going to give this a try. We have water, modified wheat starch, wheat flour, vital wheat gluten isolate, vegetable shortening, soybean oil. So far, this is sounding like a recipe for inflammation. Cracked flaxseed. I feel like that's the first good ingredient we've had here. Salt, sodium acid, it's so hard to read this, pyrophosphate, baking soda, distilled monoglyceride, fumaric acid, cellulose gum, sucralose, calcium propionate, and sorbic acid. So definitely not as clean as tortilla number 1. Texture-wise, very nice. It's not cracking, it's not dry, very much like a regular flour tortilla, which I guess is not super surprising given the amount of wheat in this product. It smells good too. It smells like a regular flour tortilla. This tastes really good. At the end, there's a slightly, I don't know what I would call it, maybe a little bit powdery sort of taste, not textured, but taste. And I'm getting a little bit of the flaxseed. But on the whole, this is, I think a non-keto person would enjoy this as a tortilla. I don't know what else to say at this point other than this is a good tasting tortilla. Although I am kind of concerned about what sort of glucose response we're going to see. So I'll be back after 2 hours and let you know how it went. All right, let's see what the results are from the continuous glucose monitor. A 6. So we had a gentle rise, 25-point movement in glucose. Typically, a spike is considered 30 or more, so we didn't have a spike. Now let's compare this to yesterday's tortilla, that Love and Fresh one that didn't taste so good. Compare Love and Fresh. Now, I have this set to relative, so they both start at a 0 point. And you can see that for the most part, that Love and Fresh, which is the white line, that just kind of trended downward. No reaction at all. And then you see in the green, the Nutri-ricas, and yeah, it looks fairly dramatic there, just in comparison. The ingredients, a little bit sketchy. We'll be back tomorrow with tortilla number 3. Next up, we have the tortilla from La Tortilla Factory. It says non-GMO, no artificial sweeteners, no bad fats. Let's take a look. We have 2 grams of fat, 11 total grams of carbohydrates, 8 grams of dietary fiber for a net 3 grams of carbs, 5 grams of protein. In terms of ingredients, we have water, oat fiber, whole wheat flour, soy flour, wheat gluten, expeller pressed canola oil. No bad fats, huh? What else do we have? We have aluminum baking powder, or non-aluminum baking powder, sea salt, guar gum, citric acid, yeast, xanthan gum, and to maintain freshness, sorbic acid, and calcium propionate. So between the soy, canola oil, and wheat, I think for most people, this is probably going to be a no-go. These tortillas are a little bit thinner than the ones from yesterday. They've got a good sort of pliability to them. These aren't going to tear real easily, I think, if you're making something like enchiladas or you have a nice loaded taco. This really tastes bad. That, wow, I feel queasy already. It is like a cross between the worst wheat bread I've ever tasted and Play-Doh. This is going to be tough. This is going to be a tough one to finish right here. I'm tempted to just throw it in the garbage and be done with this tortilla. But I am curious about the glucose reaction. So I'm going to tough it through. But already I can tell you, La Tortilla Factory, do not buy these. I'm going to eat this and be back in 2 hours with the glucose results. All right, let's see how that tortilla performed. A 9 out of 10. Only a 9-point movement in my blood glucose. Honestly, I was hoping that it would be just an awful, awful spike because that stuff did not taste good at all. I don't know, why does it have to be that the stuff that doesn't taste very good is the stuff that's best for you? Although still, those ingredients, fairly sketchy. So 3 down, I think I've got 7 to go. So far, none of these have knocked me out of ketosis. Assuming I'm still in ketosis tomorrow, we'll test another one. Next up, we have La Bandarita carb counter. It says keto friendly. We're looking at 45 calories, 1 gram of total fat, 15 grams of total carbohydrates, 11 grams of dietary fiber for a net 4 grams, and 5 grams of protein. In terms of ingredients, we've got quite a list. Water, modified wheat starch, wheat protein, cellulose, enriched unbleached flour, extra virgin olive oil, salt, xanthan gum, sorbic acid, aluminum-free leavening, preservatives, calcium propionate and sorbic acid, and dough conditioner, fumaric acid, mono and diglycerides, sodium metabisulfate. So though this does have wheat, no soybean or canola oil, so that's kind of good. The texture on this is enormously soft and pliable. It kind of reminds me of the Egg Life wraps. As I pull on it, it seems to sort of tear in layers. That's pretty good. It's got a slightly strange aftertaste. I'm gonna have to have a little bit more, see if I can identify that. So the taste really reminds me more of a cheaper white bread, like Wonder Bread. And that aftertaste really kind of reminds me of like eating the crust on Wonder Bread. So it tastes more like bread than it does a tortilla. Still, not bad tasting. And I guess I'm going to finish this up and be back in 2 hours with the blood glucose results. All right, let's check out our results for La Bandarita. Nice, an 8 it scored. A 15-point move in blood glucose. So this is one of the 2 good tasting brands that I've had. The Nutri-ricas, that tasted good, but there was a bigger glucose spike, and I'm pretty sure I was feeling some pain in my knees from that. So I think the soybean oil might have been causing the inflammation. What'll be interesting to find out is La Bandarita, it does have the wheat products in it, but it doesn't have the soybean oil. So I guess I'm going to find out tomorrow whether the cause of my inflammation on so many of these breads and tortillas is the oil or if it's the wheat. We'll let you know tomorrow. But just for comparison's sake, let's take a look at the 2 good tasting tortillas I've had so far, the La Bandarita and the Nutri-ricas. So the green is La Bandarita, and you can see not nearly as big of a spike, came down pretty fast as well. Kind of went up a little bit faster, but only about half as much. So there we go, 4 down. Tomorrow, we'll try another. Next, we have the Un-Tortilla. I don't even know what number I'm on anymore, but this is from the same folks that make the Un-Bun. And I had reviewed the Un-Bun, probably 2 years ago. I'll link to that up here. Didn't love it. In terms of nutritional information, we have 16 grams of total fat per serving, 11 grams of total carbs, of which 8 is dietary fiber for a net 3, and 8 grams of protein. Now the serving size on this is 2 tortillas. So we're really looking at just 1.5 grams of net carbs per tortilla. For the ingredients, we have water, blanched almond flour, pumpkin seed protein, coconut flour, psyllium seed husk, extra virgin olive oil, coconut milk, ground chia, ground flax, apple cider vinegar, and sea salt. So very clean on the ingredients. The look and the texture of this is pretty much identical to when I was making homemade tortillas. This looks like it was done in a hand tortilla press, not done by a machine. Fairly stretchy before it tears. Pretty pliable. Let's give her a taste. All right, I don't really enjoy this. I am definitely getting that pumpkin seed to it. That I kind of like, but there's definitely, you get the whole psyllium and flax thing going on here. Boy, this is going to be tough, I think, for me to eat 2 of these, but I'm going to try, and then we'll be back with the blood glucose score. All right, the Un-Tortilla, full disclosure, I was only able to eat 1 of those. Didn't love the taste. Let's see how it's scored, though, blood glucose-wise. I'm not surprised at this at all. A 10. A perfectly stable response. There's no movement there at all. So, not surprising. I just wish it tasted better. Now, actually, now that I think about it, given the sunflower seeds and all that, I think if you used these for enchiladas in a mole sauce, since those tend to have some seeds and some chocolate and a whole lot of rich nutty flavor to it, that could probably work. So if you like mole, then these tortillas I think could pair well for it, and I mean, you can't beat the glucose response. Okay, moving on to tortilla number 6. This is Ole brand Extreme Wellness High Fiber Carb Lean Keto Friendly. Let's take a look at the nutritional information and ingredients. Per tortilla, 50 calories, 1.5 grams of fat, 15 total grams of carbohydrates, 11 of which are dietary fiber. That gives us a net 4 grams of carbs and 5 grams of protein. For ingredients, we have water, modified wheat starch, wheat protein, cellulose, whole wheat, extra virgin olive oil, salt, xanthan gum, ground flaxseed, aluminum-free leavening. As with all of them, calcium propionate and sorbic acid. I think everybody's had that so far as a preservative, and dough conditioner again, which one of the other ones had. Fumaric acid, mono and diglycerides, sodium metabisulfite. The size on these, pretty decent, comparable to most of the others. Smells like a tortilla. It's got some good pliability. Take off my glasses here. Don't need those anymore. The taste starts out very similar to the Bandarita one that I had, but at the end, there is sort of this powdery sensation in my mouth. Not quite gritty. I'm not sure if that's the flax. Yeah, there's something about this I don't love. It definitely leaves some sort of grittiness or powderiness on my tongue and on the roof of my mouth. The texture and taste it's almost like when you have something that's not fully cooked. Anyhow, I'm going to finish this and we'll be back in 2 hours to see what the glucose response was. All right, we're back. Let's see how this performed over the last 2 hours. Not a bad score. 12 points of movement on my blood glucose is all. Pretty stable. In fact, fairly level. Not much of a spike, but then it's also been fairly stable. It's been kind of a steady decline there. But really, 12 points is not really much of anything. So, all right, I guess that's 6 now. We'll be back tomorrow with number 7. Next, we have a low-carb wrap that a number of my viewers have requested that I review. It is the Joseph's Lavash bread. Now, this does not market itself as being keto. On the back, it does talk about counting carbs. It says 8 grams total carbs, 2 grams dietary fiber per serving, 6 grams net. And a serving is half of one of these sheets. Anyhow, like I said, this does not market itself as keto, and when you hear the ingredients, it's pretty obvious why. Although, looking at the ingredients, it's not all that different than some of these tortillas and breads that I've seen that do market themselves as keto. We have water, whole wheat flour, wheat gluten, oat fiber, cornstarch, defatted soy fiber, soy protein isolate, soybean oil, enriched wheat flour, salt, calcium sulfate, sodium acid, pyrophosphate, flaxseed, dextrose, sodium bicarbonate, calcium propionate, potassium sorbate, fumaric acid, monoglyceride, sodium metabisulfite, L-cysteine, ascorbic acid, enzymes, oat bran yeast, microcrystalline cellulose, and cornstarch. Wow. That sounds like a science experiment. So I'm going to say this is only an option if you are low carb and not real hung up on a lot of ingredients. So this is a serving. This is half a sheet. And I think it would probably work very nicely if you were doing some sort of a wrap type sandwich, at least in terms of the texture. Taste is kind of just okay. I'm not sure what I would compare the taste to. It doesn't really taste like bread. It is not in the top half of the tortillas that I've tasted. Not very moist. It's not exceptional in any way. Well, I'm going to finish eating it, and then we're going to see what it does to my blood glucose. All right, it's been a little over 2 hours. Let's see how the Lavash bread scored. All right, this is a little bit surprising to me. Only a 16-point rise in blood glucose. I was kind of expecting more, honestly. Yeah, I guess I'm mildly speechless, but I'm going to withhold any additional commentary on this until I have had a chance to try out all of the tortillas and rank them in terms of blood glucose impact, flavor, etc. I'm surprised. I'm surprised at this number. So that's going to be it for part 1. I will be back next week with the remainder of the tortillas, along with my recommendations in terms of which couple of them I think are the best. And I'm also going to do a little bit of unpacking in terms of some of the results, because there is some stuff next week that is very, very interesting in terms of blood glucose. So come on back, and thanks for watching.